Hello Internet, it's Bravo back with another Gloomhaven terrain vid. This time I just wanted to give you a quick run through of scenario 31. So spoiler warning, if you haven't done 31 and don't want to know the layout, you might want to stop watching, but having said that, I've added quite a large custom area off to the side, so it does make it a little bit unrecognizable as compared to what's in the book. So anyway, your call, but I'll be taking you through that layout. And also, I just wanted to revisit quickly my tabletop setup, which I did do a video on previously. That was probably my first video, I think, on the channel. The quality was very poor. I was using some pretty crappy equipment. So I just wanted to revisit that quickly and give you guys and girls a better idea of what it is that we play our games on, because I feel like it didn't take me too long to make, just one weekend, and it really adds to the experience. So let me take you on a quick tour. So starting with the actual tabletop setup. Now what I've done is I got some pine from my local hardware store and cut it up into 4 strips, 2 longer strips and 2 shorter strips, which go together to make this square play area that you see. It was all sort of cut to size based on, I tried to give enough room with a framed out area here for the various 3D printed player aids that we use. Now you have these little dashboards here, these item trays, and there are a couple of others, but in terms of what actually sits in front of the player, they're the 2 main ones. And I cop a lot of flack online over my insistence on using these dials that come with the game. I don't know why, call me crazy, but for some reason I love these dials. They're ridiculously big, but I don't know, there's something about them that, I guess with everything that I've changed with the game, with my terrain and stuff, maybe these are like the link back to the original tactile sort of feel of the board game as intended. But in any case, I think a lot of people don't like how big they are, but I feel like I've minimized how much they intrude on the play area because I have done this, which is a little bit dark there, but some little angle brackets, which I've mounted onto the trim, and they actually Velcro on and off those dials. So they are removable, but they just sit there and it makes it easy to track stuff. And as another bonus, the way I put the Velcro on the back, it's a well-known issue with these that they spin way too freely. But I've done the Velcro in a way that sort of gives a little bit of friction on the dial. So they spin freely, but not as ridiculously freely as they were out of the box, where you could, bump it and change the numbers. You actually have to put a little bit of pressure on to get them to move. So anyway, that's the dials. That's your character dashboard and item tray. I included links to those in the original video, and I'll try to remember to put them up again in this description. Either that or just go back to my first video, Pimp Your Gloomhaven, and it has all the links. So definitely recommend those. So with these dashboards, your attack decks go like that. Now I'm mindful, I play the angry face, and I've gone and removed anything that could be a spoiler, so just bear with me. But basically, as you play your hands, you have the obviously the discard side here, so the cards just sit in like that. Or when it's a loss, it's obviously same goes here. Now you'll notice my cards are sleeved. There's 2 versions of the dashboard. Definitely make sure if you're going to print them, if you have sleeved cards, get the sleeved version because it has slightly wider channels to accommodate the card to sit in there. Don't make the mistake I did and print the wrong ones and then sleeve your cards and they don't quite fit. So, word of warning. Another thing to note in relation to the dashboards is that the actual dashboard print fits over your character mat, like so. So your dashboard will just drop over the top. You've got the character art there that sits in that window, which is pretty cool. And you have this little pocket here where you can keep coins or your little trackers. And you also have these status effect token holders, which we never use. We use Gloomhaven Helper, but if that's your thing, that's another advantage of these dashboards. And you'll notice that we've suddenly got the Spellweaver in front of us. That's because I went back and re-edited and I didn't want to spoil anything to do with the angry face, which on that topic, while I'm having the camera here, just a snappy angry face bit of information. So if you don't want an angry face spoiler, just stop listening for about 30 seconds. But what you have here is, all my fellow Doomers will recognize this as a Doom tracker. Basically it's a 3D print and I've put a rare earth magnet onto it. So nice and easy. Your little angry face thing just snaps to it and I place that over any enemies that I want to doom. So just a cool little quick 3D print to spice up the game a little bit. So with the tabletoppers, as I said, this probably isn't the best scenario to give you an example, I guess, because 31 is crazy big. So it goes outside of the middle play area, which measures roughly 60 centimeters squared. And apologies, I work in metric. I don't do imperial because I'm from down under, but you can work that out. So this is a big play area, but it's no big deal. We have had scenarios that impinge on that play area a little bit in the past, and it's no drama. All I do is push back this tabletopper to where it needs to be. So the actual pine itself I've covered. I did a bit of research and it seemed like felt is what a lot of people have done in the past, but apparently it doesn't wear very well. So I went with neoprene, which I just got from a local rubber supplier. It's a nice surface. You know, it's cushioned and it just feels nice underhand. So I'm really happy with how that turned out. In terms of the middle part here, I've got two sheets that I use. They're both 60 centimeters squared. One is metal for when I use my magnetized terrain, which is my old set of terrain. They all have strip magnets under them, so it snaps to the metal. It's like a 1mm sheet of steel. And this one it's a 3mm MDF, which I've sprayed black. So just depending on what terrain I'm using, and it also gives me the ability to do 2 builds at the one time and just slide them in and out as needed. You'll notice a cheeky little plug there. That's just Talus and Saber Terrain, which is a little project. Lambo Amazeballs from YouTube. He's another Gloomhaven terrain fiend. He and I are selling painted or unpainted packs of terrain. So if you look up Talus and Saber Terrain, you can see what we're offering. We launch very soon. So shameless plug out of the way. What else can I tell you about the actual tabletopper build? So I'll just walk you around it. So it gives you lots of room to have all your stuff at hand that you need here, and then you do have room either side for, you know, your laptop or tablet for Gloomhaven Helper if that's how you roll, or the rulebook or snacks, or, you know, whatever else you need. Plenty of room for that. This is something that I just dug out the other day. I've been needing something to put my 3D printed coins into, and I had an old hand-me-down from my mother who's passed away, which was a little box with faceted stones that she used to do as a hobby. So I dusted that off, and I think that makes a nice little container for the coins to stay in. So that's the build. If you want any more details on how I did it, feel free to leave a comment and I'll get back to you. But I am by no means a tradesperson or very skilled with tools, and I feel like it came out really well and it's well worth doing. You can obviously make it to suit whatever size table you have. Now, getting down to the terrain. So as I said, scenario 31, and I've gone as per the book, obviously, as you have to, but I've added in this large area here off the main corridor, which I know it's meant to be the plane of night. I don't think there's any towers or houses or anything like that around. I've taken a little bit of poetic license just to get some cool terrain onto the table. Little fountain area with a little, what do you call those things? Altar off to the side. You've got the printable scenery, Evil Sorcerer's Tower, which is pretty cool. And little steps off to this guy, he's raising a few undead. A cool little 3D print from Ekaroth there, which is the brazier built around an LED tea light, which gives a good effect. And some various house 3D prints, which I can't even remember. I think the one on the right's from Thingiverse, and the one on the left is the blacksmith from Printable Scenery, I believe. So the floors and walls are all Talisman Saber terrain. For the most part, there are some exceptions. The part where I've gone off the grid, there's a couple of Robogon, who's well known on Thingiverse, does great work, and various other contributors to some of these other pieces, RB Ross and a few others, no doubt. But that's the build. So we haven't played that yet. I've set it up and I've got a buddy coming over for us to continue our campaign in the next few days. So hopefully we can keep things moving. What else? We have, these are actually Fallout Death Claws, which I printed just because I thought they looked cool. They're from Thingiverse. I don't paint minis very well, so excuse the paint job, but it's tabletop level, I guess. We're using those as night demons. These are Age of Sigmar Night Haunts, which I had mini painting studio in the States. He's a great painter. Can't recommend him highly enough. He painted those for me. There you got the cool traps there, which are recessed into the ground, which one of my favorite pieces from the Talisman Saber Terrain suite of products. We managed to build a bit of depth into those to give you that impression that it is a spiked pit. One other thing I wanted to touch on are these numbered base rings. They're 3D prints from Thingiverse. I believe Robogon has some available, as well as a number of other designers. These I have printed and painted, obviously white for regulars and yellow for elite, and they have the numbers 1 through 10 on them just to track which monster is which. So they're very helpful. One other thing is this rat swarm, which you can see there in front of our Mine Thief. That's a miniature from Descent, Journeys into Darkness, which I've just painted up recently, and I just thought that was a cool mini for the summons of the Mine Thief, which I believe is Gnawing Horde. We don't have anyone playing Mine Thief in our campaign at the moment, but when we do, they'll have a cool mini to go and munch on enemies with. Or I should say, anyone that plays summons know that a cool mini to get out and then put away again one turn later when it gets knocked out in one hit by an enemy. One other thing is this hex here, which randomly sitting on its own there. You may be wondering, why is there lava in front of that door? Bravo, why? It's a good question. I don't know. It's kind of random, but that's just a prototype hex that I'm working on for Talisman Saber Terrain. Looking ahead to the future, we want to be able to offer overlay tiles, one of which obviously is the hot coals. We also want to do the water with resin effects. But yeah, this is the hot coal, something I'm working on. It's basically just a flat hex, which I've then used sand and a few other methods to create that. So let me know what you think, if you like it or not. I think it looks pretty cool. It looks pretty hot, pretty lava-ish in those little pockets there. So yeah, that's just something I've added in for a bit of extra effect. What else do we have? They're just some 3D prints from Thingiverse, painted horrendously, being black imps. And that's probably about the extent of the terrain. And what I thought I'd do quickly is, this room is still a work in progress. You can see the awful garish yellow wall. This was once a nursery that we prepared before we had our 2 boys. And at that point we didn't know what sex baby we were having. So we went with the neutral yellow, which one day will be removed, hopefully. I'm thinking maybe some stone sort of effect wallpaper or something, make it a proper gaming room. And everything is very ad hoc at the moment. I've just got these trestle tables with a tablecloth thrown over the top. Here's a couple of 3D prints here of, they're just card holders, which are really handy. We've got our city and road events and curse cards, bless cards, battle goals, those sort of things stored in there in easy reach. Got the big box, got some more character trays and dashboards. I bought some spray paint in different colors to try and match up with the themed colors of each character. A couple more buildings, more printable scenery stuff, some painted minis. That's an MDF building, that church there, which was from my previous wargaming days. Got your map, my autographed copy by Isaac of Forgotten Circles from when I was at Gen Con, which was great. That's my Gen Con badge there, my little souvenir keepsake. And this is just some terrain. This is a Talisman Saber terrain. Well, apart from the water hexes there at the front, which are older prints, but all of the walls and columns there and doors, the Talisman Saber terrain that we're madly printing and painting to get ready to sell. And here's just some of my older terrain, some Thingiverse prints, which I'll randomly keep where needed, just to spice up my scenarios. So there you have it. I think that's all I wanted to cover. Just a quick run through of a couple of things, I guess. But I hope you enjoy the video. Happy gaming, and I will see you in the next one.